Hello, we're in day 178 of the New Testament in 1 year. We're at the end of chapter 17, beginning of chapter 18. And as we read yesterday, Paul had ended up in Athens, and here he carries on, he's talking to the people of Athens. And there's a really interesting lesson here of how he kind of respectfully builds bridges with the people he's talking about. He always kind of knows the context of his audience, and he says here, I see that in every way that you are religious. But then he goes on to tell them about his God, the God that created everything. And I love in verse 27, it says that God is not far away from anyone. And I don't know about you, but I just find that such an encouragement that God is not far away from anyone. He is close, he is intimately aware of what's going on in our lives, and I just love that. And I think there's a really good lesson there as well in mission or evangelism, that actually it's not a case of bringing God somewhere. We don't necessarily take God to a place, but it's about being more aware of what God's already doing. It's identifying what God's up to and joining in with him rather than the other way around. I think that's a really helpful perspective. What a privilege that we get to partner in what God is doing and building his kingdom for his glory. And so Paul continues, he shares the gospel, and again, as quite often, he gets a mixed reaction. He says that many people are saved, but then there's also other people that kind of sneer and jeer and brush it off. And then as chapter 18 starts, he moves on to Corinth. Again, he's sharing the gospel. He's also working as a tent maker while he does that, and it talks about meeting Aquila and Priscilla, this couple. He just meets them along the way, and this is a really key couple. We read about them later on in Acts as well, and it references them elsewhere in books like Romans. And I just love this kind of sense of divine appointments, that actually, God, I believe, really connects people at certain times to work together, and I think that's been something that I've realised in my own life as well. A personal testimony of when I was at university, I just kind of prayed a really simple prayer that God would provide a Christian mate that I could kind of really journey with and grow with, and literally a couple of days after praying that prayer, I had this phone call from someone that I'd met playing football a couple of times, and but I didn't really know, and long story short, he ended up coming to live with us, and we just were able to strike up a really strong friendship, really be accountable to each other and help each other grow in our faith, in our journeys with God. And so just to really encourage you or challenge you today, actually, be aware, be sensitive to what God's doing with those divine appointments. Who's he put in your life that you could maybe help support? Who's he put in your life that's there to journey with you? Who's he put in your day-to-day in school or work or even on the bus, where you could really be a positive influence, or vice versa? Because I believe that God really likes to build relationships and to use those to further his kingdom. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.